She shows up every single day and she handles everything. She remembers everybody's needs, everybody's appointments, everyone's feelings. She's the first one there and the last one to leave. She gives and gives and gives, and somehow nobody sees her. Not really, not the way she needs to be seen. They see she does, they see what she provides, they see the function she fills. But the actual woman underneath all of that, the one with her own needs, her own dreams, her own quiet exhaustions, she's invisible. And the most painful part, she had been invisible for so long that she stopped expecting anyone to look. She stopped asking to be seen, and she stopped believing she deserves to be that. This is Invisible Woman Syndrome, and today we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to the Empowerment Click. I'm the Kenya Empowerment Coach, Nation, and a Question People social worker. And this is a space where we name the things that have been nameless. Where we look for honesty and patterns and options. And we could give you a choose your own adventure type scenario where I provide different scenarios and options so you can choose from to kind of, quietly help shape your lives. In the background for years, we've been holding these patterns. And today, the pattern is one that I have been seeing in almost every place I have ever worked in. Shelters, treatment programs, community organizations, corporate offices, in my home, and honestly, in my own mirror. We are talking about the Invisible Woman Syndrome today. And I want to start by saying this clearly. This is not a clinical diagnosis. It is a pattern. A deeply human, deeply painful pattern that happens when a woman has been for so long being everything to everyone that she has her own way of losing herself. Own visibility has lost, first to the people around her and then eventually to herself. And by the time we get to the second part, by the time she has become invisible to herself, that is when the truly real damage sets in. So let me define what we are actually talking about. Invisible woman syndrome is what happens when a woman's presence in any space is recognized only through her unity or her utility. Through that, what she does, what she provides, what she manages, and what she holds together, not through who she is, not through her inner world, her needs, her desires, her pain, or dreams. Just her function. She is set as a role, mother, caretaker, employee, strong friend, reliable one, but not as a few human being with a rich exterior life that deserves to be witnessed and honored. And here is what makes this so insidious. It almost never starts with one dramatic moment of being unseen. It starts like with 1,000 smaller moments. A childhood where her emotional needs were consistently overlooked while she was being praised for being very helpful. And a relationship where she learned that keeping her peace was more valued than speaking her truth. Not on no workplace setting where her contributions were absorbed without acknowledgement. A friendship where she was always the one who showed up, but really the one who was shown up for. 1,000 small moments of invisibility that over time adds up to a belief. The belief that she is here to serve, not to be seen. So in this section here, I'll be going over the self-worth pillar. And this is where it becomes a self-worth conversation, because when a woman, in turn on invisibility, when she stops expecting to be seen and starts organizing her entire life around being useful instead of something functional or fundamental, it's hard to shift into how she understands her own value. She begins to believe at a level that is often below consciousness awareness that her worth is conditional, that she earned her place in people's lives through what she does for them rather than simply through what she is or who she is. And that belief, that quiet, devastating belief shapes everything. How she shows up in relationships, how she advocates for herself, whether she allows herself to rest, whether she asks for what she needs, whether she even knows what she needs anymore. This is a mouthful here, guys. I want to tell you about a pattern I've seen over and over in my work with women. A woman comes in and on the surface, everything looks functional. She's holding all together. And when you ask her how she's doing, she will almost already tell you, and you know this. She always almost start to tell you about everyone else, children. How's her partner doing? Oh, mom is fine. Things are fine at work. And when you like gently redirect her and say, no, I'm asking about you. And how are you doing? And suppose sometimes for a long time because she generally does not know how to answer that question. Not because she is evasive, but because she has spent so long attending to everyone else's experience that she has lost access to her own. That is not a small thing. That is a woman who has become a stranger to herself. And it happened so gradually through so many years of putting herself last and being praised for it that she did not even know it was happening. Here is what people do not always realize about invisibility. It is not always imposed entirely from the outside. Sometimes we practice it in our own invisibility, not because we want to disappear, but because at some point we learn that being visible, truly visible, with all our needs and feelings and opinions and desires on full display, is not safe. Maybe being invisible meant being criticized. Maybe it meant being rejected. Maybe it meant being too much for the people we loved, and we so made it ourselves to be like very small. We make ourselves more manageable that way. It's controlled that way. We make ourselves easier to be around, and we call it being selfless. We call it being strong. We call it not being a burden. But I need you to hear this. Making yourself invisible to survive is not the same as not deserving to be seen. Those are two completely different things. One is a coping strategy. The other is a lie. And a lot of women have been living inside that lie for so long they have not forgotten how to get out of it. They have forgotten is not the truth. Let me paint a picture. A woman in her 40s, she has raised children, managed a household, shown up consistently for her job, been the backbone of her family, the go-to person in her friend group. And one day something shifts. Maybe it's her birthday, the end party with nobody making a fuss. Maybe it is a moment in a meeting where her ideas is overlooked and then repeated by someone else, and then there's applause. Maybe it's a Tuesday evening, like where she realizes she cannot remember the last time someone asked her what she wanted for dinner. Not what the family wanted, but what she actually wanted. And sometimes, and something in that just cracks like wide open. Not dramatically, not like quietly, but a realization that like she has been here in this whole time, fully present, fully giving, and somehow still unseen. That crack isn't a breakdown, that crack is an awakening. It may come out as tears and frustration, people and saying, I'm hurt, tired, I'm broken. And if she's brave enough to stay with it instead of pushing it back down and getting back to being useful, that crack is beginning of something. It's changing. I cannot keep repeating that to you, ladies. So what does it look like to step out of invisibility? Because I am not going to sit here and decide a room this deep without offering you a direction. Okay, so it starts with a radical act of paying attention to yourself now. You're going to become that boss babe. And not like in a self-absorbed way, in a self-aware way. Like it's going to start with asking, what do I feel right now? What do I need right now? What do I want that I have not asked myself out loud? And actually sitting with these questions long enough to like get a real answer instead of immediately redirecting your attention back to someone else or everyone else. It continues with practicing being witnessed in small ways, sharing something real about your inner experience with someone you trust, not the functional update. Not here is what I did today, but the actual emotional truth of what is happening inside you. I am tired in a way I cannot explain. I feel lonely even when I am surrounded by people. I do not know who I am outside of what I do for everyone else. Those kind of truths said out loud to another human being. That is how visibility begins. You know what? It's beginning to lift up, and you may lose a lot of people because of that. And it requires you to stop waiting for other people to see you before you see yourself, because here is a hard truth. Some of the people in your life have gotten so comfortable. I know I express this across the board with your invisibility, that they have built their lives around your willingness to stay in the background. And they may not automatically notice or aren't you have to step forward and make noise because you want to be a boss babe, Empress, which means the first person who has decided that you are not worth seeing is you. You have to be the first one to say, I'm here and I matter. My inner life is real and it deserves attention, not just from others, but from you. And I want to close with this because it matters deeply to me. There are young women watching how you move through the world right now. Their daughters and nieces, young women in your community. And they are learning from you what womanhood looks like, what it means to be a woman, whether women get to take up space, whether our needs matter, whether it's okay to fully be seen. Every time you choose visibility, every time you speak your truth, when your needs show up for yourself, the way you show up for everyone else, you are teaching them something that nobody taught them. They're not pillars. Can you guess? Okay, I'll tell you, it's legacy. That is the work that ripples outwards in ways you will never fully see, but that matter more. You were never invisible because you did not matter. You were invisible because you were never taught that you did. Now you know. And you know, knowing changes everything. If this video opens something up in you and you are ready to start the work of coming back to yourself, my free ad with this guy in the description, it is the starting point for women who are done living on the edge of their own lives. Grab it, it's free. It was made for exactly this moment. And if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. You do that now because this series is going to get started and you don't want to miss what's coming. This is the Kenya. Thanks for sticking around. And this is a vibe check.